How often do you find yourself in reaction mode when someone throws you under the bus? Whether it's someone honking at you in a car and you say, how often do you get back to that place? And like, because aren't we conditioned to kind of react?
Dude, I react every day. Oh my God. I react every day. But the fundamental question is, how long are you going to react?
Right.
So shortening the refractory period of your emotional reactions is that kind of intelligence where we're keeping ourselves out of the past. Justified, valid or not, the only person that's affecting is you. And then you have to ask yourself, is it loving to me? Well, if you can't control that emotional reaction, then you're a junkie. And you're on a bad trip, and you're overdosing. But if you know that you're overdosing, you got to get beyond your rational mind, because you'll say, why are you this way? Oh, because I should. All right, and by you doing that, is it making more of those chemicals? Yeah, why were you doing that? To make you feel more like it's justified. So then, this takes, listen, I excuse myself many times in one day.
Because I'm in reaction mode, let me step aside.
I'll be like, are you kidding me? What did they do? And then I'll be like, oh, we're not gonna make a decision
in this state.
So give me a minute.
Oh, wow.
I go, take a few breaths, get out of that state, remember my future, where I'm going. It's so much more important than the present moment. I just got to condition my body into that future. And now it takes sometimes a Herculean effort, I have to tell you. You can ask my staff. I'll be in there 15, 20, 30 minutes. Sometimes I'll say it took me an hour. But
to get back to a peaceful state.
In the expanse of all eternity, if I don't overcome that emotion, then I'm in my past, and that's karma, because that emotion's gonna drive my behaviors and thoughts, and I'm gonna be predictable. My past is gonna look, my future's gonna look a lot like my past. So if I'm soulfully on the journey, then what matters the most is being able to learn the skill of self-regulation. So in our events, when we see people that can do brain and heart coherence, they know the formula. Well, I look at their brain scans and I'm like, Louis, great brain. Hey, I see you can hold that heart coherence for 45 minutes. Great, now let's put you on a pole at 55 feet in the air. Let's get a heart rate monitor on you and let's see what you're gonna do up there. Do you wanna be able to self-regulate there? Because if you can there, it's not like I'm trying to give you an adrenaline rush. Actually, I'm trying to do the opposite. I want you to settle your brain and body back down, go against thousands of years of programming like fear, and teach your body in that moment how to regulate. I guarantee you, if you go a little further than what you did and you stay conscious, instead of throwing in a program and rushing through it and trying to get it over with, you start breathing, you start getting back in your heart, you start getting centered, you work against those chemicals, I guarantee you when you walk into your life, the moment you see something doing, you're gonna catch on right away, you're gonna catch yourself. Now that saves you a lot of energy and a lot of time. Because if you're able to change it then instead of 4 hours later where you're just gone.
Or you've already reacted.
Yeah, and you've done things you say I should have never done that, I should have never said that. That's what those emotions do, because those emotions make us really primitive. Really primitive. We're either going to become antagonistic and angry and aggressive. We're going to run and fear, or we're going to hide. Like, that's really the options.
So let's talk about a practical scenario where someone's in a relationship 5, 10, 20 years, married or not married, and both parties have a pattern of defensiveness, of passive aggressiveness, of reacting when they don't like something. And then one person starts to transform, or they do your work, or they do meditation work, and they really start to connect to their heart and their mind, and they start healing the trauma of the past, and the other person hasn't caught up yet. How does someone either inspire the other person to come on this train with them and elevate their thoughts? Or if they are unwilling to, is there a way to be in a happy relationship if your partner is still in reaction mode more than you?
Wow. Again, speaking from my present state of ignorance, because I'm on a journey also, I will tell you this, that one of the things that happens when people start to come across information and knowledge that's really valuable, they want to share it with the person next to them or share it with their lover or whatever. But if they're in a relationship, for 15 years and they have a lot of emotional agreements with people and things, and they're in a lot of habits. We only accept, believe, and surrender to information that's equal to our emotional state. So sometimes it bounces off the person, and if the person's really enthusiastic, then they're really like, whoa, what is up with, you're changing in front of me, I don't like you this way. We had a thing going here. We could pick apart anybody or anything. Now you're not showing up equal to my memory. You're unpredictable. You're in the unknown. I don't know
unsafe.
You're the unknown is unsafe, right? So a lot of times the enthusiasm is the first thing that starts creating disconnection. But if the person goes, that's amazing, that's really cool, say it again, like they're ready to hear the information, those people are going to evolve together, right? If the person just kind of looks and says, oh my God, my wife's on the Kool-Aid or whatever it is, this person is, they changed their medication, I don't know what's happening with them, then that person that is trying to explain it philosophically is just looking for someone to exchange information with. That person may not be the person. He may just like Sunday football games and Monday Night Football and hanging out and drinking beer, and they fell in love when they were the same, right? So now, the next step is to find the person that you can exchange that information with, because you want to understand it better so you can begin to use it. Now, you have to stop preaching to that person. That's the first thing you have to do. In other words, show up happy. Show up transformed. Be the example. And then one of two things will happen. I tell my kids this all the time. If you're happy, then that person is going to want to get some of that. And they're going to ask you, all right, so what the hell are you doing? Like, all of a sudden you're like happy. They're either going to go, I want some of that, and they're going to evolve together. Now, if they don't, and then you come down here and compromise yourself to meet them on that level, they're going to take some of your energy, and you're going to be like, who am I?
Resentful, angry, all these things.
You didn't respond the way I wanted to. Now we're angry and we're back down here, right? But if you stay happy and they come up and they meet you there, then you're still happy. If you don't come down and you stay happy and they stay there and they move away, guess what?
You stay happy.
You're still happy.
Yeah.
So then people in relationships will compromise themselves out of obligation, out of necessity, out of obedience, out of programs, and at the end of the relationship, they don't even remember who they are because they compromised so many aspects of themselves.
That's why you hear in a lot of people when they go through a breakup, they're like, oh, I lost myself in this relationship, because and now I'm refining myself.
They were changing in a way that kept the relationship safe.
Why do so many relationships do this in general?
Because nobody wants to tell the truth. If you sat down and said, let's get vulnerable. Let's sit down, let's open our hearts, have a bottle of wine, let's get vulnerable. Hey, I'm this. How are you doing? Like, what's really going on in there? Are you happy? And then be an adult. Like, you're unhappy, I'm unhappy too. You want to try to stick this out? All right, well, if I were to say, if I could get in my heart and I was looking at myself, these are the things that make me unhappy that I want with me and that I want to change. It's not with you, it's me, what I want to change. And the other person said, listen, I'm stuck. I'm stuck too. I don't know how to change. I'm doing this. I'm drinking more or whatever. I got to stop. And it's important enough for me. This relationship is important enough for me that I'm willing to make the change, and let's figure out how to do it together. That to me. Or I've done this. Hey, I can't feel it anymore. I can't feel that feeling anymore. I think it's time to move on. I love you, but I've changed, and I still love you, but I gotta go. I mean, it's just different. We don't have the same interests anymore. We've grown in different directions, and out of respect, let's do that together, right? So those relationships still stay fertile. They're still wonderful. They're still, you keep them alive, but they've transformed into something else. It's the not telling the truth about how you really feel, because it would make you vulnerable, and that may mean someone one-ups you, or you may get shocked or rejected in some way.
I think the place in my life right now, I'm 37, the thing in my life, in the relationship I'm in now, I'll tell my girlfriend often, I'm so grateful that we're on this journey together. And there's cultural differences. You've been with a Latin woman in the past. There's cultural differences. There's language differences, there's belief differences, all these things. The thing that I tell her is like, listen, I want to be with you for as long as we can be together. If that's our lives, great. I'm committed to you. But I'm also committed to myself. And if we're not able to line up consistently over time, and if we're both suffering and we're unable to make it work, it's okay. We can break up. It's okay. And this is the first time I've been in a place where I'm okay with her and okay not with her.
Yeah.
And she
That's
is
healthy.
as well.
Yeah.
And so we were able to talk about these things from a healthy space, not needing it to work out.
Right.
Because we're not lacking.
Right, because of course, because you feel differently. You're using the love. Look, the truth is, if you truly are love,
Yes.
then you will be challenged always to a greater level of love. And I have had enough mystical experiences where I thought, you just can't have any more love than this.
Really?
Until I've had another experience and I'm like, wow, there's even more, right? So when in love, in a loving relationship, I have 3 children and I only want the best for them. That's it. So if you truly love someone and you want the best for them and they need to go, you gotta love them.
Yeah.
Just as long as it's they got that kind of clear agreement with each other, like, I'm gonna go. I just gotta go. And yeah, it's gonna hurt, but that's if there's truly love, you would want that for that person, their best, right?
Yeah.
So then, it's not something that we do that is a recipe. It's trial and error. And I think the number one thing that I've learned over the years in any relationship, it's about awareness. It's about who am I being in this moment? How conscious can I stay? How am I speaking? How am I acting? What is the tone of my voice? How much more can I give? How can I forgive? If I'm having problems forgiving somebody, I would think about something that I may have done in my life that I would want forgiveness for, and I would think about how I want to be forgiven, and I would forgive that person in the same way that I would be forgiving myself. And in a sense, I am forgiving myself, right? So we have to see it as this illusion of separation, this illusion of three-dimensional reality. This is the plane where we demonstrate love. I mean, we came from source, we came from singularity, we came from pure love, and down into density, fooled by our senses into separation.
Wow.
And the survival hormones create more separation. They arouse us to put more attention on the illusion, on the objects, the hologram of three-dimensional reality, and we move further away from love. So fear is not the opposite of love, it's the separation from it. Anger is not the opposite of love, it's the separation from love. Pain, suffering is not the opposite of love, it's the separation from love. So then, as people heal into wholeness by learning how to create coherence in their brain and heart, the side effect of that, a lot of times, are dramatic changes in their health, and then more importantly, from that place, they could have been sexually abused, emotionally abused, physically abused. They will look at their entire past from that place and not want to change anything in their past because it brought them to that moment. And they'll see the lessons, and they'll have compassion and forgiveness because they're at a different consciousness. Only when you're unhappy with yourself, unhappy with your life, are you going to dig up the past and find the reason why you are that way. And 50% of that story isn't even the truth. You embellish the story to make it sound so hard that nobody can change. Well, I can't change. It was way too hard. And the research on memory is, majority of time people are telling a story that isn't even the truth. To me, they're reliving a miserable life they didn't even have, only to reaffirm their emotional state. So you catch yourself in the midstream. You catch yourself talking and feeling that. You catch yourself, that's a victory. To me, that's a victory.
Right. It's because you're going to be in reaction.
Of course.
We're going to have feelings and emotions.
But you asked me, so I react. Yeah, every day. Right. But I get better at it. And I always say, okay, if I was in that same circumstance with that same person, I got the same or similar news, how would Joe Dispenza show up more evolved? If I don't know the answer to that, I'm going to find someone who had a similar experience. I'm going to read what they did, and I'm going to rehearse that. I'm going to rehearse it in my mind so much so that I'm priming my brain for the experience. Now I want it to happen so that I could. It's not about being right. It's not about being any of those. It's really about my evolution. So then that victory to me creates more wholeness.
Yeah.
And so that more wholeness means I'm less lack in separation. If I'm less lack in separation, then I'm relaxed in the present moment. And that's the beauty of being alive, is that we want the moment to last. We want to be so present. It's so good. We don't want to leave it. So love, people want love, but what's the sponsoring thought behind that? They want joy. That love brings them joy. People want abundance, but they don't really want abundance. They want freedom. That's what they really want. They want to be able to do whatever they want. They want to have freedom.
Yes.
You know, people want a mystical experience. No, they want to be blown away. They want to feel awe. They want to be in awe of life. People want to be healed. No, they want to be whole. They want to feel wholeness. They want to feel whole again. So if you're looking for the reason why you want certain things, you want it for an emotion. The emotion is the payoff from the experience. It's the payoff. And then we get to experience it with our senses, and it's greater than we imagined. And I'm telling you, when the reality starts organizing itself to reflect your energy, and it starts showing up in your life, what kind of feeling do you feel when you start seeing those synchronicities? You feel excitement, joy, inspiration. That's the energy you're going to use to create the next one. And so people in our work, you know, this is the thing that I'm proud of.
Synchronicities happen daily when you're
because your energy is synchronized. Yeah. Your energy is synchronized to a future. So the future that you're seeing in your mind before it happened and emotionally embracing, so much so that your brain and body look like it's already happened. Well, if it looks physically like it's already happened, relax, because it's going to come to you. So then people in this work do the work every day, and that's the thing I'm the most proud of, not because I want them to do it out of obligation or to please God or do the right thing or whatever else, whatever the programs have been for thousands of years. They don't want the magic to end. They just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm having these incredible lucid moments. I can't believe I just got this opportunity, and wow, this is happening. And every synchronicity does what? It creates the energy and the belief that there could be more, but they're not trying to control it. They're not trying to predict it. In fact, it's none of their business how it happens or when it happens. If you can predict how it's going to happen, that's the known.
Yeah.
The unknown is like, I'm so happy, I would never try to control it. I'm not going to leave the present moment. And that's when you're the vortex, you know, to experiences. And so that's the difference between creating as source or praying as source, or creating or praying to source. Separation is begging, trying. Now, you are connected. You feel divine.
You feel you are the source.
You are connected to source. Yes. And so this place is the bridge to that. Once it's here, then there are emotions and energies and frequencies that are just ineffable. That you can't describe how much love that is, or the feeling that you feel.
Do emotions create thoughts, or do thoughts create emotions?
Both. So think about this. Some people wake up in the morning. Your brain is a record of the past.
Yeah.
The first thing they do is they think about their problems. Those problems are memories that are etched in the brain that are connected to certain people, certain objects, certain things at a certain time and place. The moment they wake up in the morning and they think about their problems, they're thinking in the past. If you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, well, you're already in your past. Every one of those problems, since we've experienced it, has an emotion associated with it. So then all of a sudden, they start feeling unhappy. The moment they feel unhappy, now the body's in the past, because thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. So now that once they go, oh.
Say that one more time.
Thoughts are the language of the brain, feelings are the language of the body. So the moment they start feeling those feelings, now their body's in the past. So now they get back and they started off with a clean slate, they didn't feel anything, and then they're like, I'm back to feeling unhappy, okay, I'm back to myself again. So because they'd rather feel unhappy than not feel anything. So naturally, the void of that emotion is influencing, the body's influencing the mind, the brain, to think, so it produces the chemicals for it to feel. Some people just wake up in the morning and they don't feel anything, and then all of a sudden they just look for that feeling. Some people need a thought to do it, some people can just bring up the feeling, right?
Wow.
So then they cling to that emotion because at least it's the known. So some people have emotions that influence thoughts. Some people are more analytical, they have thoughts that influence feelings, but it's a loop, right? It's that cycle of thinking and feeling.